Hi, so last time we did some stuff about lists and if statements. Lists and if statements are really basically just called flow control if you want to say fancy names. So I'm gonna go over a bit more for that. It's just like short, you know. So do you remember when something like this, if you can, a for loop is when you loop it, so it goes over again and again. So you might have noticed something like this. For I in range 0 to 5, print high. And that would print it 5 times. Actually, I already ran it, so this is what it says. High, 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 high. Ignore the bottom part, okay? High, high, high. And that's very nice. But why I? You might be wondering why I. And actually, you don't need I. Because in this statement, there's no I. You can actually just put this symbol. It's an underscore, so just put one underscore. That's enough. And so let's see what happens when you put I in use. For I in range 1 to 6. Well, actually, this is 0 to 5, but I'll show you why. Print high plus string I. This function means string. And since this I is an integer, which basically means it's a number, it basically turns this number into a string. And these are strings. Do you remember my string video where I was like, silly, I like tacos? Yeah. So basically that happens, and actually if you run this code it becomes 1 to 5. But why no 6? It's because it stops at 6. It doesn't run 6, so yeah. And now, do you remember this part? Yeah, I sort of rushed it, but if homework is done equals true. These are two equal signs because, well, you have to compare, not assign. So compare is, two equal signs, and a sign is just one. And so, but then it's actually squiggled in this yellow line, which basically means you can simplify it. Well, I'm in PyCharm, so that's why. Yeah. And so you can just do homework is done is. You use the is function instead. Oops. Oh yeah, and Boolean Boolean values are always capitalized, right? So then I print you get a cookie. Sound familiar? Yeah. Okay, now I can change this into is false and no cookie for you. Okay, but actually there's a simpler way to write the first statement. Because true is sort of, universal, I guess. You can get rid of it is true. And then that still works. So let's see what I print is. You get a cookie. Still works. No errors. Like, you see, there's a check mark up there. Okay. And one last thing about, I actually forgot to mention this, and I'm sorry. There is this thing called a while loop. And because for loops are not the only loop that is out there, there is a while loop, and I think I rushed it a little bit, so I'm gonna do it again. While true means forever, and please do not do this. Just don't do this, okay? Don't do this, just don't, because just stop it. Stop it. Okay, that's a bad idea. So just never use while true unless you have a break. And while true, actually there's this function called pass, basically. But I'm not gonna do that one. So here, I can also press break. Break is basically to break a loop. Break, guess what? Not very surprising, right? And so you break this loop as in, if I break this loop, break. Oh yeah, you need intents, by the way. And that's always 4 spaces, if I didn't say that. And that's very high one. And it just broke there, so yeah, that's very, very interesting. So there's while true, right? But there's also another condition. Let's say while homework is done, then print good job. And if homework is done is false, oops, then you would basically just print this break. This would work. But then this would also go forever unless you put a print, sorry, not print, but homework is done equals false, and then that's bad, and then you break it, and that's sort of simple. Hello? Okay. Yeah, so that's sort of it. I guess there are many more stuff, but about while loops and for loops, and oh, I didn't mention what passes, but many other stuff you can do with it, but I'm just saying, here are the basics. And I guess we'll go over like lists next time, but that's sort of it for today. So I'm using OBS, and here it is. Haha. Stop.